Happy Manga Monday. And today, as it is still the, romance season to talk about all things romancy, I guess, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to dump too many romance titles on you. I decided to just pivot a little bit and just talk about some drool-worthy series of manga with some drool-worthy men in them, some 2D men you can just really gobble up visually. A little snack, you know what I'm saying, because sometimes you just need some eye candy when you're alone and single for Valentine's Day. And now that Valentine's Day has passed, I'm like, yeah, whatever, we're just gonna talk about hot 2D boys, and I'm gonna drool over them and forget that I can't actually ever date any of these fictional men. Just gonna ignore that for now. And I have my Survey Corps hoodie on because I always have to rep my main man Levi. He's my short king and one of my very top contenders for 2D men I drool over. But I'm not talking about Attack on Titan. I actually just finished reading the manga and I want to revisit the anime, and I would like to maybe this year talk about them both in a video. Yeah, because I really enjoyed both. But this is not about Attack on Titan. It's also not about how I failed to do my Gintama video before when I said I would. Another ambition I had that I haven't done yet. Still planning on it, but yeah. Anyway, these are 4 series that I think have drool-worthy 2D men in it. There are more too. If you would like to drool over some more 2D men with me, then definitely hit that like button so I know that you would be interested, and or comment below. And of course, comment below your favorite hot 2D men to drool and swoon and oogle and ogle and all the words down below. And yeah, next Mondays is the last February video and the last kind of, I don't know, romance vibe. I know this isn't really romance vibe, but I'm going back to romance for my last video. I would have liked to do it flip-flopped, but I just didn't have time. So anyway, next Monday's video will be a BL in parentheses and GL, because there are, I confess, a lot less GL titles, a lot less Yuri than Yaoi titles on my TBR cart to read. But I am going to be doing a challenge in which I see how many of these lovely titles that I can read in 24 hours. So yeah, it just seemed different and fun, but like I said, my schedule just didn't work until after this video to do. So that's why, we're going back to romance next week. So I hope you subscribe for that one. I'll stop with the preamble and get into the meat of the video, which is the hunky men of manga. So the first series I wanted to highlight was Aoharu Machinegun. So very sadly, you cannot really easily find the physical copies of the series anymore, but you can totally read it on Kindle. It is available on Amazon and as Kindle buys for each volume, and is complete at 18 volumes. So yeah, I had a few that I wanted to pick, but I chose this one because A, it has some really nice looking guys in it, of course, is the #1 criteria, but also because it doesn't have any fantasy to it. I don't know if you've noticed this about me, but I tend to gravitate towards fantasy titles. Yeah, so I wanted to pick one that was purely, real life based in case you aren't into fantasy at all, but you still want some hot, drool-worthy 2D men to enjoy. So yeah, the summary of this series is that Hotaru Tachibana is a girl, though all too frequently mistaken for a boy, with a deep sense of justice. When a classmate informs Hotaru that she was tricked out of her cash by a shady host at a host club, Hotaru jumps into action to confront the villain, only to discover the con man in question is her new neighbor. Worse, he proposes to settle their feud with firearms. Okay, it turns out they're just toys. But when Hotaru is soundly defeated, she finds herself sucked into the world of survival games. Is this new world one she can actually escape? So think of it more like paintball. You know, I don't believe it's ever called paintball, and I'm blanking on what it is called, but it is like survival games with fake weapons. So you get that kind of rush of the survival game, who will win, who will triumph, who will lose, you know, without any death stakes. But that does not mean there is no drama in this, because there is. There's some mystery centered around for one, this lovely man on the cover, our host in question, Masamune Matsuoka, and he is one of the main protagonists of the series and a member of Toy Gun Gun, the name of their group that enters into these competitions to see who can take out the opponents on the other team quickest. And sometimes there's different rules to different games, and yeah, it's just very like action-packed and fun and interesting, but like I said, with some actual like drama and feels mixed in. I mean, I'm a crybaby, but you know what I mean. It has a little bit of everything, I'd say. And it has the most drool-worthy men. We got Masamune, and then we have Toru Yukimura. Yukimura is my favorite boy. I love him so much. So he is actually a manga artist that specializes in adult-oriented erotic comics. He's a little bit of a perv, I'm not gonna lie. But he is also Masamune's childhood friend. And he has a bit of a cold, standoffish nature, especially towards anyone that is new. You know, he's not too friendly, and you know, like Hotaru joins their group and he is on the defensive and is not very eager to let her into the group or welcome her in any way. But he's a fun personality. He is so attractive. Look at him, just not really athletic, and sometimes that is a drawback for these games. As you can see, their strengths and their weaknesses throughout the games. But yeah, he's not necessarily athletic, but that doesn't mean he can't still, you know, shoot and be tactical on the field, and yeah, he's great. Then we have Masamune's ultimate rival, and he's on the cover of volume 3, Nagamasa Midori. So I also really like Midori. I feel bad because like I should like Masamune a little more, but like just like Midori a little more. Anyway, Midori is renowned as the Invincible Emperor and is the leader of the reigning TGC champion team Hoshishiro and Masamune's rival. But their rivalry doesn't seem to be limited to just on the field, but possibly some things that happened off the field in the past. No spoilers. And the reason Masamune is excited and interested in recruiting Hotaru for a chance to have enough members to challenge them in the next championship. There's also a couple of other characters that I think are really attractive. Personally, to me, there are the Hosokawa twins. I think they're really cute, but I especially like Haruka, and Haruka is a little bit more twisted. He is the younger twin brother, and frankly, a little too obsessed with his older twin brother. but I find him really fascinating. While not as many, there are some female characters to drool over as well, like Tachibana herself, who is a main character, but I think her athletic prowess and her go-getter nature and sense of justice make her pretty attractive in my eyes. And then there's also Ichi Akabane, who is cute, and her sweet but slightly obsessive personality. She's really into Midori, but yeah. So yeah, that's the first drool-worthy recommendation for a manga series. And the next one is quite a bit shorter, and that is The Seven Princes of the Thousand-Year Labyrinth. Bit of a mouthful for such a short series that's complete at 4 volumes, and while it's kind of regrettable that it is so short, though I do love me a short series, and I don't necessarily think, you know, like I wouldn't be recommending it if I think it's bad, but it could be better. It could be even more fleshed out. The world building, the mysteries, the contenders themselves could be more fleshed out. But in the end, I still really enjoyed this mystery-fueled short series, and the guys are very attractive, starting with our main character here, Ewan Juno. I don't know, but Ewan awakens to find himself imprisoned in an unknown place, surrounded by stone walls and seemingly endless corridors. Ewan learns that he is one of a group of individuals all sent to this strange place, the Thousand Years Labyrinth. Each of them is a candidate to become the country's next emperor. However, only one can claim the crown. If, as a group, they do not decide, the title will fall to the last man standing. And it appears the Labyrinth has methods of its own to achieve that end. A series of puzzles, trials, and deadly traps stands between life and death and appears to mimic an old legend about an emperor and his 7 lords, who were all lost in the very same maze. Will the chosen candidates find a way out, or will the Labyrinth claim another 7 princes in its search for an emperor? So yeah, it's definitely fueled with mystery and intrigue and puzzles and trials, and although I feel like the stakes of the life and death game aren't as high, I don't really mind that. I just really enjoy learning more about this world and these contenders for the throne. And like I nitpicked, it would be lovely if we could slow that all down, really flesh it out, really let the puzzles and the trials, you know, take their time and be more effective, I guess, in this trial. But I still really enjoy it. You know, I can nitpick about it and say it's rushed and this and that. But yeah, we got these lovely contenders for the throne. Let's see. And Ewan is kind of the soft boy, and he has a mysterious past, cute, fluffy character design, but he has a determined personality, and he's very determined to find the truths behind the mysteries surrounding the labyrinth and his past. And yeah, he's a good main protagonist. I think it does give a little bit of a harem vibe. They all kind of are a bit dedicated to Ewan, and none more so than Lawrence Ackroyd. I hope I said that right. So Lawrence here is the first one to kind of swear his allegiance or loyalty or whatever, and it comes across as kind of a devoting his life to him, a bit romantical. And it definitely has a boys love undertone to it, while never explicit. It is fun fodder to ship different guys throughout the series, and of course I really thought Ewan and Lawrence were really cute together. Lawrence is a bit more straightforward with keen fighting abilities, and yeah, they're very cute together. I think they complement each other well. But my biggest ship would have to be between Messiah Reed, a mysterious and intelligent man. He's a very handsome detective, actually, who put the guy that I ship him with away in jail. And then they end up together in this labyrinth. So both are a little wary and suspicious of the other, but there's just such a, you know, such a chemistry bubbling underneath the surface, and like this like sexual tension, I feel like, jumps off the pages. Is it just me? I don't know. I might be reading and putting it into the story, but it's just, yeah, it's nice. So yeah, we have Messiah Reed here, and then we have the man he imprisoned and my personal favorite character, Tillis, or Tillis, I don't know how to say this, Tillis Ram. Look at this hunky man. Look at this hunky man. This bronzed, beautiful man. Oh God. Be still my heart. He's so pretty. But yeah, he is the bad boy rogue type character who is a thief and who everybody is kind of like the most suspicious and on guard of, I guess, because of his thieving past, being trapped in a possible death trap labyrinth with. And yeah, I can't help but love him and ship him with Messiah, and I mean the detective thief dynamic. And yeah, let me see the inside cover of him, because yeah, he's so nice to look at. We'll just hold him up for the rest of my little rant about it. But yeah, the character designs are all really unique and great. There's more than just these 4 characters, but to me, these are my, you know, the main drool-worthy guys. Besides the character designs, the art itself, the architecture of the labyrinth, and the world building that it does provide are both really interesting, and the art of it is really nice to look at. So, you know, it's eye candy all around. And yeah, it's a short, easy read. You know, it will leave you wanting a bit more, and apparently there are some more like one-shot kind of spin-off kind of continuations that were printed in Japan, but they weren't printed here, sadly. So, but they kind of, you know, fill in bits of the story, I'm sure, you know, whether it's before this or after it or sideways to it, who knows. But they always like to do that, and yeah, sadly English publishers here don't really print those much. But yeah, I'll take what I can get, and if we ever get any more of it, I will be so happy. Next up is another longer series, and is also fantasy. Seven Princes of the Thousand-Year Labyrinth is kind of fantasy, but I don't feel like it leans into a lot of fantasy elements, but it's a definite kind of fantasy vibe world, you know. But anyway, this one is fully embracing the fantasy. And that is Devils and Realist. So this is a series that is complete at 15 volumes, and it has many handsome men to drool over. I would say almost all of them. All the character designs are very nice to look at, and I can't say there's a unattractive one of them, you know, but it's definitely male heavy. There's like 2 girls that ever show up in the entirety of the series. So yeah, it's very male dominated, and again, it has some boys love undertones. You know, I picked these out trying to be careful and trying to be different, and then I realized I just like too much of the same stuff. Now, I will say Devils and Realist story-wise is not my favorite. So it's like, I recommend it for the boys, but for the plot itself, it's okay. The plot is okay. If you just want an action adventure with some silly, goofy characters and some action sprinkled in, it's a good enough series. It's not one of my standout series. I didn't love it as much as Aoharu Machinegun or Seven Princes of the Thousand-Year Labyrinth, or my last pick, but I still enjoyed it enough. And I did briefly talk about this way back when in my completed reads of 2022, because that's when I read it, and I did a video early 2023. But just like with 07 Ghost, I kind of wanted to revisit it and just give it a little bit more of a spotlight because, you know, I do think it was an enjoyable time and definitely has memorable characters. So yeah, Devils and Realist is a supernatural manga series that pits a young suave nobleman against hell's princely demons. After the failure of his uncle's business, the brilliant realist William Twining finds himself penniless. To make matters worse, demons appear before him, insisting he has the power to appoint the next king of hell. The demons offer to pay his school tuition in exchange for his help, while his principles as a staunch realist prevent him from believing in them. How can William resist such a generous offer? So yeah, William is probably my #1 issue with this series. His like just realist nature and his inability to accept that there are demons in the world, or that, you know, he plays this role in selecting the new king of hell and just kind of wanting to bury his head in the sand is kind of an annoying aspect to this series in my opinion. I do, you know, it's funny, it's good for some laughs, but like overall he's kind of not personally my favorite protagonist, I think. But that being said, he is quite a cutie. And even more so than him are the demons that surround him, vying for the position as the next king of hell. So we have Dantalion. Oh my god, these names are so hard too. But yeah, he is quite the kind of traditional, I'd say, like handsome, devilish kind of appearance. And he has a personality that is full of confidence and that very often turns to arrogance. He also can act kind of childish and immature at times, and overall kind of troublesome for William to deal with, though pretty much all the demons are troublesome to William, so. But he can be serious when the moment calls for it, and he's got the emotions that like flip on a dime, you know, like going from composed and serious to an embarrassed mess in the drop of a hat. So, you know, he's a fun character and he's very attractive to boot. So next up we have Kevin, kind of a more mysterious character. He is introduced as William's kind of attendant and abruptly takes over as campus pastor, which is confusing William, you know, because he was his butler, his attendant, and yeah. So there's more going on with Kevin than meets the eye. So he, you know, you can kind of feel like he's a mysterious guy and he's not telling us the whole about him, you know? It also very much, this series as a whole kind of gives those Black Butler vibes throughout. I don't know if it's the Old English setting or the, you know, mysterious attendant. But as I was saying it, I was like, oh yeah, I should mention it kind of just does give me like a, I don't want to say a knockoff Black Butler, because I think it's its own series, its own story in its own right. But it does give you those like vibes and can make you make the comparison, I guess. And yeah, you know, all the same, he is very attractive. And on the back of this, we get our first look at Cameo in his human form and his demon devil form, which I think is like the most unique. Like, I don't know, most of them look pretty much the same, but from like a human to the opposite form. But for some reason he goes from like the studious kind of preppy kind of nerdy student to the long-haired kind of more handsome and alluring demon, and a little bit more intimidating. And yeah, I love that he has like two different vibes, and I honest to God I love them both, like both of them, like both his vibes, both his designs, they're great. I love them. So yeah, if you couldn't guess, Cameo, he is my favorite demon, my favorite character. I just really love him. Look at him with that apple. Like, my God, this man, he's so handsome. And yeah, I also wanted to throw There's Saitri, who is a fallen angel. He has more strikingly feminine features and is referred to as a beautiful or lovely puppet by his uncle. He also is more childlike, and like when he enters the human world, he's really taken with sweets. He's honestly overall a more fun-loving demon, but he's cute. He's like, you know, he's cute. He's got a different vibe to him. And then we also have Gilgamesh, who doesn't have his own cover. Sadly, not a very prominent character, but he's worth mentioning because he is very handsome, as well as arrogant and cunning and charismatic. But yeah, he's just a very intriguing character. And I just wish we got more of him in the series. Missed opportunity, but yeah, overall, that's Devils and Realist. A good, not great series with lots of jewelry, guys. Those are just scratching the surface. There's so many. And last, but certainly not least, and the one that is different in many ways. First, its art is very much different from the other three that are more a soft and fluffy art style. This one's definitely darker, grittier art, and as such, maybe you won't find the men as jewel-worthy as I do, so I decided to have them be my fourth and final pick, and that is Gangsta. I mean, I know it's not traditionally handsome and jewel-worthy, but like, come on, these men, they be very hot. They be very sexy men. I mean, yeah. Just a different vibe to them, you know? And I wanted to include something that was a little different, and it is an ongoing series, so this is also different for that reason. I was gonna pick all completed series, but what the heck? Is it ongoing in the fact that is it actually ongoing and not unfinished? That I don't know, I can't answer. But yeah, so this is a story about two men who live in a pretty shady place, a city that is made up of vile men, petty thieves, whores, as the description says, not my words, whores on the make, and cops on the take. So, you know, it's dirty in more ways than one. And there are some deeds too dirty for even its jaded inhabitants to touch. Enter the handymen, Nick and Warwick. This is Nick and this is Warwick, who take care of the jobs no one else is willing to handle, until the day when a cop they know on the force requests their help in taking down a new gang muscling in on the territory of the top mafia family. Second cover, which features Warwick more heavily, and then Nicholas on the back. But yeah, it seems like business and mayhem as usual, but the handymen are about to find that this job is a lot more than they bargained for. So yeah, it's about these two dark and gritty individuals who are willing to take on any job, and it's kind of like a dark, seedy Gintama full of much less whimsical and fun characters than dark and brooding ones. But yeah, we of course have the main characters, Nick, who's my personal favorite. He is a deaf Twilight, and Twilight, to kind of describe them, are a subcategory of humans who possess enhanced strength and abilities than just the quote-unquote regular humans, and they're kind of made to wear tags to identify themselves and are sometimes treated poorly. So there's a whole lot of classism and just like issues with hierarchies and all that such with Twilights and other things within this world. And he's formerly a mercenary, so he's a certified badass. Like, his fighting prowess is just off the charts. He's awesome. I love him. And although he is a cold-blooded killer, he actually is a pretty compassionate individual. And I love the duality between that, like the dichotomy between a cold-blooded killer and a compassionate kind of soul. And then we have Warwick here, who was part of the wealthy Arcangelo family. when all of his relatives were slaughtered, he moved to this dark and dirty, seedy underbelly of a city. I haven't been saying this city's name because you know I'm gonna mess it up. Gastelum. Yeah, you know. Anyway, where he started work as a gigolo and where he now works as a handyman, as well as still continuing his gigolo lifestyle. And again, kind of with Masamune, I feel like I don't really like the gigolo player vibes, host, gigolo, whatever. Like, they give off this very ungenuine vibe, and so I never tend to like those kind of characters as much. Not saying I don't like Warwick, I just don't like him as much as Nicholas. But he is, I have to say, the whole playboy with a heart of gold. He will stick his neck out for those he cares about, but also for money. So yeah, he's just a bit more cunning and manipulative than the more straightforward and compassionate person that Nicholas is. And then we also have some other characters that I think are handsome, and I just pulled this cover as well because I really like this cover, and one of the girls that I think is quite hot as well. You know, if you want some drool-worthy girls, there's also some drool-worthy girls in Gangsta, I have to say, including Alex, Loretta, and Erica here. So yeah, there's others as well that I just, and we also have Marco and Delico, and there's some strong contenders for handsome characters. Delico is another personal fave of mine. He has a quiet and earnest demeanor, and it makes for a more serious character. But he also is kind, I don't, you know, he's like the bad guys with the hearts of gold. And I just like this more dark and action-packed series. It's got a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of action. So yeah, if you're into any of that stuff, it's also rated mature. So, you know, there's things in it that aren't for kids. With that, those were our 4 series with drool-worthy 2D men, fictional men to drool over, that are swoon-worthy, heartthrobs, whatever you want to call it. And I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you agreed with my picks. If you have any series you think have some real drool-worthy fictional men, do drop it below. I can never have enough series that give me some eye candy. And of course, if you also want more videos like this that I share series with fictional men I think are drool-worthy, then do comment below and like the video and all that jazz. So yeah, I hope you do subscribe and stay tuned for next week's video with, I don't know how it'll turn out, but I like trying different things, and this little binge-a-thon challenge is different. And so I hope you like it. And thanks for watching this video. Until next time, bye!